For almost 500 years, the writings of Nostradamus have just completely fascinated us. They're cryptic, they're weird, and sometimes they're shockingly spot on. So today, we're going to dive into one of his most enigmatic predictions, Century 1, Quatrain 37. Let's see if we can unlock its secrets together.
All right, so here it is in its original Old French. Just 4 lines, written way back in the 16th century, but wow, have they kicked up some endless debate. This isn't really a straightforward prediction. It's more like a riddle, a poetic puzzle box, you could say, that he just left for us to figure out.
So where do you even start with something like this? I mean, the first big challenge is just the language itself. We have to peel back nearly 500 years of history just to get to the words, never mind their hidden meaning.
And believe me, people have been trying for centuries. Historians, scholars, mystics, you name it, they've all been staring at these exact same words, trying to figure out the warning. It's one of those prophecies that feels incredibly specific, and yet, at the same time, maddeningly vague. And honestly, that's what makes it so irresistible.
Okay, so first things first. Before we can decode the prophecy, we just need to understand the words themselves. So our first step has to be translation. Let's strip away the Old French and see what we're actually working with in plain English.
Okay, wow. Seeing it laid out like this, the raw pieces start to pop out, right? We've got a disappearing sun, a conflict, a seaport that's gone silent, and this really strange mention of a bridge and a tomb. But, a literal translation is just the first step. The real question is, what do all these symbols actually mean?
And this is where we get to the really good stuff, the heart of the mystery. It's time to decode the prophecy itself. We're going to go line by line and explore what this cryptic message could really be trying to tell us.
So that first line, a little before the sun disappears, it's pretty unlikely he's talking about a literal sunset or an eclipse. In this kind of prophetic writing, the sun is a classic symbol. It stands for life, for clarity, maybe even a ruling power. So for it to disappear, that suggests a time of approaching darkness, a period of huge trouble, or maybe even the end of an entire era. It's basically a warning shot.
Then, the second line gets a bit more specific. Conflict arises, a great doubtful people. Now this points to a major crisis for sure, but that key phrase is doubtful people. It paints this picture of a population that's just confused, totally uncertain, and probably deeply divided. It's like a society losing its way, with no clear sense of truth or direction, while all this chaos is happening.
And then we get this really eerie line. The mariners at the seaport give no answer. Symbolically, seaports are gateways, right? They connect you to the outside world for trade, for communication, for help. So for the mariners there to just give no response, that is deeply ominous. It's usually interpreted as a failure of allies or authorities or protectors to step in when they're needed the most. Help is called for, but nobody answers the call.
When you actually lay it all out, you can see the flow of the prophecy. It's like a little 4-act story. It kicks off with a warning. Darkness is coming. That leads to the crisis, conflict and confusion everywhere. Then comes that critical moment of inaction. Help isn't coming. And it all builds to this strange, mysterious final act.
And this is that outcome. The final line is by far the most cryptic and haunting part of the whole thing. Bridge and sepulcher in 2 strange places. After all that conflict and silence, we're left with this stark, almost surreal image.
So what on earth could this mean? Well, think about it. These are 2 of the most ancient symbols we have. A bridge almost always represents a transition, a connection between 2 states of being or 2 worlds. And a sepulcher, that's a tomb. It's a pretty direct and powerful symbol for death. So placing them in 2 strange places suggests these huge, maybe final events are happening in unfamiliar, separate locations. It's an ending that's just shrouded in mystery and a real sense of foreboding.
So, when we put all of the pieces together, the full message of Quatrain 37 really starts to come into focus. And what we see is a pretty ominous picture of a society right on the brink, a warning about the final moments before a great and maybe terrible change.
All right, so let's do a quick recap. Nostradamus warns of a time of approaching darkness. This era is defined by a massive conflict that leaves a whole population confused and split apart. Then, at a crucial moment, the people who could help, allies, leaders, they stay silent, and the whole prophecy ends with these significant, death-related events, these major transitions and endings happening in 2 separate and mysterious places.
Look, at the end of the day, can anyone say for sure what Nostradamus saw? Of course not. But his prophecies have stuck around for a reason. They tap into these timeless anxieties we all have about conflict and division and feeling abandoned, which kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. If a prophecy is really just a mirror that reflects our fears, what does this ancient warning show us about our own uncertain times?